that.
Welcome to WagerTalk's last call. We're going to have a shorter show today, as you can tell, because K-State plays KU right off the top at noon, and I got places to be and people to see. You know who else has got places to be and people to see? Gianni the Greek. We're going to bring him right in, and then after he gets done, we're going to go over some of the needs from Art DiCesare from the Westgate Superbook. Both guys are on a time constraint this morning because the UFC is basically underway right now. VR, kind of get into that first. Let anybody know what you've got going on as far as UFC. I know this is a college football show, but with these fights starting here, I think right now, actually, we need to kind of get things underway for everyone.
Oh, yeah. I'll share some winners with you guys. Coming off a hit 2 out of 3 in college football last night, plus a plus 150 on the Toronto Blue Jays. So coming into this weekend on fire, and first UFC bet we had was a 3% on a plus 350 that just cashed. So we're starting off the UFC up 10 units. Really good start for Saturday. Here's what I got left for you. Okay. What else do I have? Rebecca Klein under 2.5. That's a plus money total for you. Park Alexarov under 2.5. Got to lay 120 there. There's the two totals for you. I'll give you one more total. Over 4.5 in the co-main event. Dern and Jandaroba. And here's a couple signs for you. Alexander Rakic, I laid minus 110 on Rakic. Mizuki, I took plus 350, but that's already started. Almeida, I like Almeida. Anything less than minus 200, I think that's the sign. I gave out Mackenzie Dern at about minus 140. She's up to minus 160, 65, I think. So some of the value's been extracted. And finally, in the main event, don't do it. I know Aspinall's going to win this fight, but it's a terrible bet. He should not be this big of a favorite over Cyril Gane. Anything at plus 300 or better is a great bet on Gane. One of those great bets that's probably not going to cash, but you know going in, you're getting the best of it. He should not be this big of a dog. The fact that he opened as the favorite against John Jones tells you everything you need to know. The value side is the underdog, but again, Aspinall's probably going to win this fight, but our job's to place good bets. What's going to happen is going to happen. Mizuki wasn't supposed to win her fight either at plus 350, but she got it done for us. So that's MMA for today. I gave you pretty much the card top to bottom, and we got a lot of college football, Kel. What's good is I have my card already in there, and I've been very selective today. I think I only got like 4% plays in there. So we were really able to narrow down the strongest positions and my 5%. I like it even more today than I did 3 days ago. So hopefully it's a big, big weekend for us because the NFL is good tomorrow too. But let's talk college football. What do you want to get into?
Yeah, let's get into it. Actually, I said I was going to wait and release Art, but let's go because I like talking about it together, either one after the other or whichever order. So let me give you, he sent me a ton. He said, Kel, I'm really sorry. He was like, we are shorthanded with the UFC, but here's what we need. Biggest needs: North Carolina, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Minnesota. The number one need, I was floored, is Alabama. And I said, Art, I need you to back it up here. I was like, I know you're busy, but when you get a second, answer this question because everyone is going to go, what? Alabama? You look on John Ewing's page, you look on Ben Fox's page, all these guys that report from these other sports books, and they're all saying, you know, that it's completely lopsided. 80+% of the tickets are on Bama. And here's what Art said. We booked him to need Bama. So we took money at 13.5, 13 and 12. I thought that was really interesting. Now we're at the market price of 11. So very interesting that they are taking a position there on the Bama side.
Yeah, and Bama's been one of those teams that we've been talking about being undervalued because they lost that game early in the season. And, you know, once you get a loss in college football, you're out of the top 5, out of the top 10 even. And because of that, you were able to make some money betting an undervalued Alabama team. So it looks like Westgate is high on Alabama like I am. In fact, power rating wise, I think I have them second or third in my power ratings. So I agree with that. Here's what you got to remember with when you talk the percentages and ticket count and money bet, it's going to differ from book to book. I'm seeing that a lot, even on some of the most marquee games, like you just said, the Alabama game, where you have a difference of opinion, where I have another book that tells me I'm all one-sided on Alabama. So it's good when you see books doing what Westgate's doing, where they're taking a position, because it kind of tells you, you know, like we used to use the Pinnacle shade, what Pinnacle's shading, you could kind of confirm it's the sharp side. So I like when bookmakers do that. But I'm always cautious about the needs, because it's going to differ from book to book. I see that all the time.
Yeah, I think absolutely. Here, let me give you a couple of these sharp totals, because he said, hey, Cal, I should have been sharing these with you, but we have a new sharp totals guy who has been killing it the last five weeks or so. He gives us anywhere between 6 and 8 plays, and we have to move more aggressively off his bets. Boston College under 55.5.
I like
NC State under 55.5. Wake Forest under 54.5. Troy under 48.5. FAU over 63. Arkansas State under 60.5. Nebraska under 44.5. So found that very interesting. And then just to follow up before we get into all your stuff, VR is very public sides: Baylor, Syracuse, SMU, and Nebraska. That makes me very happy. I'm on Northwestern here early on. I like them to win that game outright. So let's kind of get into some of the stuff that you've seen on your side of the computer screen. And then we'll get to Brian Power next, Ross Benjamin, to get to all of your college football questions. So if you have one, put it in the chat. And then we're going to get VR out of here, because I know he's got a busy morning with the UFC kicking off.
Yeah, no problem at all, Kelly. The information I'm receiving confirms with what you're getting from Mark, meaning one-sided money on Syracuse. That one sticks out a lot because it's sharp as well. Earlier in the week, they took 17.5 on Syracuse, and then you have the public coming in on Syracuse as well. Some of the most one-sided. I'm going to give you the public sides first, and then I'll give you some sharp sides. The most public sides that I'm seeing: Iowa State, because you had sharp bettors line up on Iowa State, and now you have the public lining up on Iowa State. You have Vanderbilt getting bet. That's on that key number of 3. We had it 2.5 earlier in the week. The only reason that 3 isn't juiced, or they're not at 3.5, is because on the sharp money opposite, the sharp money on Missouri at +3. But there's more than enough Vandy money to offset that. That's one of the most one-sided bets I've seen. Vanderbilt, Iowa State, Syracuse, and Stanford. Stanford as well, catching all those points. And we talked about Baylor, because Baylor's sharp and square. So you got the wise guys on Baylor at about 4.5, and you have the public coming in on Baylor as well. That always worries me when they're all on the same side. A couple of the sharp sides I'll give you now, because the totals move too aggressively. So the value is pretty much extracted on all the totals we got down on. 125 UMass +17, 16.5, and 16. 129 Syracuse +17.5. 141 NC State +7.5, all the way down to +6.5. 137 Michigan minus the 14. 144 Purdue +3. Public's on Purdue as well. 146 Wake +3. Also seeing public on Wake. 186 Iowa State, I gave you. Sharp, like I said, sharp and public heavy on Iowa State. 207 Colorado State +6, +5.5, and +5. And 175 Texas at 7. They're picking off 7s on Texas. That's some of the sharper signs that we haven't seen buyback on that are legit positions. And K-State, Kansas, Kel.
Oh, boy.
I like the under. Under.
Really, okay. You know, that they were saying that weather.
I would have went under 52, 53, but 55 is way too high.
Yeah, they were saying the weather was going to be moving through. I have some friends, boots on the ground there, said right now, no rain. So no wind, no rain. Obviously, wind is one of the
gun the head. I like Kansas too, Kel.
I know. Everybody does.
I'm not betting it, but gun the head, I'd be on Kansas.
Listen, I get it. Everybody is expecting. Here's the real reality. Kansas has showed more promise this year than Kansas State has, right? They've showed more grit. Jaden Daniels, whichever one it is. I always get those two confused because I just don't care. The real reality is he could throw for 500 yards today, and it would not shock me against a secondary. K-State's going to have some things go their way. They're going to have to get some turnovers. And no Dylan Edwards is not good for the K-State running game. Joe Jackson should be able to fill in. Gus is not 100%. Avery Johnson's going to have to move those legs. It's going to be a really interesting game. That's why I want to cut the show early, because I want to be butts and seats. I want to be at the bar. I need a margarita before this one kicks off, VR, because it is going to stress me out. I know I said I quit this team, but I can't quit these sons of bitches. All right, let's get VR out of here real quickly. Let everybody know what you've got over at WagerTalk.com before we let you go.
Yeah, I got a real good college football card for you today with a 5%. I haven't fired a 5% in weeks, and number one in profit in college football. We've had 9 weeks of college football. We turned the profit in 8 of those, and we're already up for this week, coming off a nice 2-1 and hit our best bet last night, the 4%. I have tomorrow's NFL as well with a handful of 4%, and the steam room goes an hour heading into kickoff. I'll be back for last call as well tomorrow, and
yeah, absolutely.
Action, so best of luck.
VR is going to be here with Ariel Epstein tomorrow morning, 11 a.m. Eastern. And then if you are at least a WagerTalk insider or a premium subscriber to VR's packages, you can join him in the steam room tomorrow for free right here at noon Eastern, leading up until kickoff. WT.buzz/insiders, just $2.99 to join. VR, thank you for being here on a busy Saturday morning. We will see you next week for Bet on It. Let's bring in Brian Power. You guys know him. He is on the host of the new college football show, The Blitz, with Ralph Michaels and Ross Benjamin. If you guys have not checked that out yet, you are absolutely missing out. It is such a great college football show. They go over all the top 25 games, and then they kind of get into some of the meat and potatoes of some of the other things they like. Did I forget anything, BP?
No, that sounds like a fairly strong synopsis of the program. Live Thursday, every 1 p.m. immediately following Andy Lang on Wager Talk today. Man, is there a lot going on right now, Kelly.
Yeah.
You and VR were talking. There's a lot of moving pieces here that we're trying to catch
Okay, let's start off with this game. I am fading Arch Manning on the road today. And VR just said every time there's a 7 that pops up, boom, they scoop it up. I have a 7.5 in pocket on Mississippi State. There was a flash of an 8 yesterday. I did miss it. We'll see kind of what your thoughts are here on this Texas team. I think they have a great defense. I like this Mississippi State team, but last week I was so frustrated. They had the win. Well, they had the opportunity, to kick the game-winning field goal, and Gainesville turned the ball over. Just run the dang football. I need that hat. There's a hat around that says that, and I need that because that's what the Bulldogs should have done last week. What are your thoughts? I was kicking myself not taking Kentucky plus the points last week. Texas got taken to overtime once again by a subpar team. I think this might be the next team that takes them to overtime. How about that?
Well, look, it'd be dog or pass for me, obviously, or I don't want to lay this number on the road with Texas, which should be a low-scoring game. You're talking about a Texas team, Kelly, that was outgained by over 200 yards last week at Kentucky. As you mentioned, that game went to overtime. Kentucky, I think we would all consider to be the weakest team in the SEC, and Texas was never a threat to cover the spread in that game. Obviously, everyone is ripping on Arch Manning. He was overhyped coming into the year. A lot of us thought that. You can go back. Actually, you mentioned the Blitz when I announced that show over the summer, when I announced that we would have that show, Ross, Ralph, and I. Andy Lang asked me, who are some overrated teams you think? And I said, well, if Arch Manning's so good, why didn't he play last year? And I think we're finding out why. Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like the craziest take in the world. I know there were a lot of people who thought
Steve Sarkisian thinks that he's a better quarterback, he should have played over Quinn Ewers.
It's not like they loved Quinn Ewers in Austin. Here's why Mississippi State, though, did not make my card. Here's why I personally am not betting Mississippi State. About a month ago, maybe even a little more than a month ago, I did bet Mississippi State at a very similar number in Starkville against Arizona State. Texas would not be a pick-em against Arizona State on a neutral field. They just would not be. And so I'm wondering, there's a lot of games today where the spot screams BP take the points. But I'm looking at the number. I'm like, I don't love this number. And I don't love this number, Kelly. So look, I'll tell you right now, under no uncertain terms would I lay it with Texas in this spot, but I don't love the number with the Cowbells.
All right, let's get into some more of these questions. I just saw Ross, the boss. He's waiting in the wings, so we'll have him answer some more questions as well. We're getting out of here by like 11:43. That is our goal. It is a 12-minute drive to where I want to be sitting at kickoff. Got it, guys? So we're going to do rapid fire.
The very specific time, Ross, 11:43 Eastern, she wants to be off.
When Art said he wasn't coming on this morning, I was like, perfect. You know why? Because I want to get out of here early. All right, Memphis QB question. Sorry about that. Is the Memphis quarterback playing? Why did the line drop to 4.5? What are you seeing this morning?
Yeah, so I saw those questions come in, and I was frantically Googling, as you said, we're bringing Brian Power on. It looks like Lewis is going to try to give it a go here against South Florida, and on the Blitz Thursday, we talked about if Lewis plays, this is a great number on Memphis. Memphis, this is a team, I don't love the coach, Silverfield, but they've always been great at the Liberty Bowl, Cal. I think it's 39-6. They are their last 45 home games, 10-3 against the number. Is Memphis the last 13 times they've been a home dog? This is a good number that you could get. It would only, again, this is going to be the running theme of the day, guys. Probably every question you ask me, it would be home dog or pass for me in this situation.
All right, home dog or pass. Let's get into some of these other questions. Andrew wants to know, are these SEC games have the wrong side favored? LSU, A&M, Mizzou, Vandy. I will say this. I have been betting against LSU all year long, BP, especially at home. I think they've been getting way too much love. 5 interceptions with Florida, thank you guys, and a wonky turnover there late with South Carolina. Lost that one by the hook. I want to like LSU here. Are you on LSU?
Here's the deal. A&M is like I gave you, go back to the preseason. A&M over 8.5 wins was a win total. Like that was plus 150. And that's looking good. They need.
Well, it had been so good at betting unders. Hand up. I did not touch it this year, but probably the last 5 or 6 seasons, I've been betting consistently. Yeah. Certain teams win totals unders, and A&M was one of them. I thought, all right, let's see what Colin Klein and Mike Elko can do this year. And so far, I have to eat crow.
Yeah, but they've been they've been pretty lucky. Now, the final score shows they only won by 3 last week against Arkansas. I was on Arkansas last week, and anyone who joined me and watched the game knows Arkansas snuck in through the back door. But A&M, guys, this defense has now given up 40+ twice on the road. Arkansas, and don't forget against Notre Dame. They won against Notre Dame, Kelly, if you recall that game, because of a missed extra point or a bot. I don't think they got the, if remember, God, you watch so many games, they blend together. I don't think they got the extra point up. I think they just, the holder screwed it up. So, the defense hasn't been great on the road. This is the first time A&M it has to play back-to-back road games. And they're laying points. I don't think a lot of people thought they would have been laying in Death Valley, where, of course, Brian Kelly, 19-1 straight up, Kelly, in home night games in Baton Rouge. As much as I don't really like Brian Kelly, that Cajun accent he tried playing off when he got hired, that was embarrassing. But
there's a lot of embarrassing
he typically does well in the spot. That thing where he dances.
You know what's funny?
Players.
I'm going through the questions right now, BP, and this one's from 4 a.m. because we pre-schedule the show. I feel so seen. This was from 4:16 a.m. Kelly needs to be on schedule. One margarita deep. Like, wow. I just saw that because that is from all the way back. We're going to get into some of these other questions here before we get to Ross. I don't know. We're going to see. Powers, do you like the over 52 in the Ole Miss Oklahoma game? Here's another SEC game that I find very intriguing. I think it's Oklahoma or pass for me here. I think John Mateer looked a lot better. Well, also he didn't throw 3 interceptions last week versus South Carolina. I knew South Carolina was dead in the water in my parlay. As soon as I knew they were the dog with fleas, I was like, well, this one's over. And I kind of feel like Ole Miss might be a dog with fleas this week.
Yeah, so something I've talked. I have Oklahoma tied to a number of money line parlays this week. Rather than lay the points, let's just do that. People can read about this game if you go to my page right now, wt.buzz/BP. But look, here's the deal. This is an interesting situation, Kelly. You have a top 25 matchup where the lower ranked team is both home and favored. There have been 6 previous instances of this season. Top 25 game, lower ranked team, home and favored. All 6 of the previous instances have seen the home favorite win and cover. So that points well to Oklahoma, who, of course, has the number 1 defense in the country, both yards per play, yards per game allowed. They have held all 7 opponents to season lows in total yardage. Tough spot for Lane Kiffin's Rebels, Kelly. I think we would all agree on that. Back-to-back road games. They wilted late against Georgia. I was very happy to see that. So, yeah, I believe Oklahoma wins this game. Now, the question was not about the side. Lewis asked about the total. Very interesting. Every single team in America has gone under at least in one game. But there's one team in America that has not gone over in a game yet this season. That would be Oklahoma, Kelly. They are the only team perfect to the under. It's probably going to take points to beat Ole Miss is what I think. So I think Mateer plays well today, 3rd game back from injury. I think Oklahoma's going to put up some points in this game. And I don't love over 52, but if I had to play the total, Lewis, that's how I'd play it.
Ooh, yeah. All of the games have gone under the total this year. So kind of Buyer beware. Eventually, the bookmakers are going to adjust because the public has caught up. Let's get a couple more of these questions. We got about 4 more minutes with Brian Power. David Fink wants to know if you were to pick 10 this week. I'm assuming he's in my Splash Sports pick 10. By the way, there's still about a $1,500 overlay with less than 40 minutes to go before kick. So go get some of that dead money. Splashsports.com/Kelly in Vegas. How would you pick a best bet? How do you? That's a good question. How does Brian Power narrow down? I know how I do it, but I want to hear how you do it.
Well, it's very simple. I go through every game, and the one I like the most would be my best bet. No,
okay. So in David's fairness, so we started doing these weekly pick 10, which is a lot. It's a lot of games. I don't bet 10 games on a college football Saturday, but I don't also get to choose the game. So how it works at Splash, even though I'm a commissioner, because I want to play and I want people to play against me or with me or however you would like to say that, I do a hands-off approach. I let the guys behind the scenes pick the games. If I got to pick the games, like K-State, KU would be on that list. If I got to pick the games, like, Houston, Arizona State would be, I think the games that I like would be on there front and center, but they pick primarily top 25 games. They throw in some Thursday and Friday games, and there you have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, you want to like my entire, how do I approach a Saturday college football card? There's certain things I look for, obviously, and the people know that. I'm on enough shows. People know the kind of things I look for, and we go from there. How do you pick your favorite one? This is such a cop-out answer, Kelly, but it's up to you. It's what you're most comfortable with. I know what I'm most comfortable with today. I have a 5% play at WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/BP. That's what I'm most comfortable with. But I don't know. It's what you're most it's a hard question for me to answer. I'm not in the man's brain. I always tell people, you've got to come up with your own way.
So I'll say this. Yes. I have 2 entries in this week's pick 10.
Yes.
I used different best bets in both. I used Houston in one, and then I used Mississippi State in the other, because frankly, I like all 3 of my dogs the same this week. I would say I went back and forth on how I wanted to approach it. I used Houston as a barking dog because I think they actually have the best opportunity to win outright. Right?
Yeah, I like Houston. Yeah. As a matter of fact, that's another team whose win total I give out. If they win today, I get to cash before Halloween with Houston. Virginia, too. And unlike Houston, Virginia's a big favorite at Bill Belichick, who could be waking up penniless any morning.
I don't understand that game at all, but there's no way I'm getting involved in North Carolina. But would you be shocked in the slightest to see they won the game outright? No, I'm just waiting for North Carolina to do something like that.
So all due respect to a good friend of mine, Aaron Kidd, big Virginia fan. I think Virginia is about as overrated as any team in the country. The fact that he has to cash that bet before Halloween is absolutely insane. But the 2 most overrated teams in the country right now, Kelly, Virginia and Georgia Tech. I saw a lot of people asking about Iowa State because they know Iowa State. I know what VR said in the previous segment, that everybody seems to be on them. But look, they're on them for a reason. I like Iowa State in this game. I'm just going to come out and tell you right now. I'll tell you why I like Iowa State today, guys. Okay, it starts with the fact, yes, this is an unranked home favorite against the top 25 team. BYU, I would put as the number 3 most overrated team in the country, Kelly, right now, behind Georgia Tech and Virginia, the aforementioned Georgia Tech and Virginia. And from a scheduling situation, here's what you need to understand, guys. This is one of the great scheduling advantages any team has had this year in college football. Iowa State, desperate, off a bye, back-to-back losses. BYU is playing for a 6th consecutive week, the 4th time on the road. I have seen this movie before, Kelly Stewart. I did not believe in BYU last year when they were 7-0. I do not believe in BYU this year when they are 7-0. This is a team that was down by double digits to Arizona, an Arizona team that Iowa State trounced, by the way. And then last week, of course, they win the Holy War against their rival Utah, a game where Kyle Whittingham, I think kicking is for losers just like you, Kelly. But I thought Utah left some points on the board. They were stopped 3 times on 4th down. And that was kind of the difference in that game, a game where Utah outgained BYU by 100 yards, oh, by the way.
Ooh, that's a game that here's the thing. I think both of the little teams are a little tiny bit overrated there. I hate Iowa State. No. Apparently you did not see my power ratings of teams that I hate the most. I did on Kelly and Murray. Nebraska, Texas. Iowa State wasn't even in the top 15. Settle down, Cyclone Drew. Settle down.
Okay. I would say Iowa State, Cyclone Drew, in all due respect. I had them once upon a time as my most overrated team in the country. As a matter of fact, I mentioned I have a 5% today. I'll mention it again real quick. My last 5% play in college football was against Iowa State when they were undefeated, number 11 in the country, at unranked Cincinnati. And guess what happened there? Cincinnati handed it to Iowa State.
I was on Cincinnati in that game, yes.
This is a what comes around goes around, the proverbial shoe on the other foot situation.
Fair enough. All right, we're running a little behind schedule, and those margaritas are calling my name. So we're going to answer one more question before we bring in Ross. Winning wants to know, Kelly, can you ask BP what dogs are on his radar today?
And if you want, I'll go real quick, Kelly, I promise. If you guys want longer breakdowns on these, you can check the Power 5. I like Louisiana against your favorite team, Troy. I like Houston against Arizona State. I like Kentucky against Tennessee. I think Michigan's laying. I get it. I know that there's some sharp money on Michigan, but if you get 14.5 with Michigan State in a rivalry game, I would take that as well.
I like Michigan State.
Wake Forest against SMU. That is obviously the sandwich spot of all sandwich spots for SMU. So those are just a few underdogs that I like. I saw someone asked about Auburn, Arkansas. I joked on the Blitz. The only way, I'll leave you with this, the only way that game could end is for it to go to triple overtime. Teams have to trade 2, and they both spontaneously combust. And it's because those are the 2 unluckiest teams in the history of college football. I do not understand how they find ways to lose.
Right now, the Blitz, that means Ross.
Oh, yes.
Brian Power, Ralph Michaels, you guys have a 30-day all sports, all access for $199. That makes it under $7 a day. Please let everybody know where they can get that, please.
Well, they can get it at wt.buzz/BP. I'm a little preferential on that page, but Ross will probably tell you to go to wt.buzz/RB up next. And that's okay, too, because I think the way they have it, we're sharing in all the revenue anyway. So, yeah, take advantage of that deal, guys. I do have that. I know I've said it 3 times. Let's make it 4. I do have a 5% play. The reason I'm saying it so many times, they're rare. I've had 3, only 3 5% plays since September 1st, Kelly. And guess what? I won all of them. Falcons over the Vikings in the NFL, Cincinnati over Iowa State in college, and then we had the Cubs over the Brewers in my only 5% so far in the Major League Baseball playoffs. So 5% play, wt.buzz/BP.
Love that. I will be going over there. But first, we got to get in Ross Benjamin. And yes, I did wear this shirt on Wednesday during my Best Bet segment because I'm wearing it today. I found it amongst everything else. I keep nothing, Ross. Like, I am like the anti-hoarder. I'm like, just get rid of things. But I have had this shirt for probably like 20 years.
Yeah. Well, I figured we were going to talk about that a little bit, you know.
Well, listen, I get it because I wore it in the Best Bet segment and bet on it. So people are going to say something. But yes, I decided I'm going to wear it today because how fitting. Who doesn't want less Jayhawks in their lives? Ross, I think we've talked about this game ad nauseum. So we're just going to go. J-Buff wants one of those WagerTalk golf shirts. You know what? I'm thinking about when we do different tiers for the WagerTalk insiders. If you are at the higher tier, then you're going to get a WagerTalk polo, but we haven't got that far yet. But if you want to be a WagerTalk insider, wt.buzz/insiders, just $2.99 a month gets you all the early access to all things WagerTalk. Ross, you guys have been crushing it on the Blitz. Been loving watching the show on Thursday afternoons.
Thank you.
And it's because I love college football, and it is just a strictly college football show. But we're going to get some of these questions because you guys go over a lot of things on that show. But this show strictly wanted to ask the audience. J-Buff wants to know Illinois, Washington. I thought this was kind of an interesting play here. I didn't end up getting involved on Washington, but is Illinois the square dog here?
Yeah. I talked about this on Wager Talk today with Andy on Wednesday. And we do a segment. It's called "This Line Makes No Sense," and this is the game I talked about. You got a Washington team that's a 4.5 point favorite, I think, against Illinois, who's the number 23 team in the country. To me, when these types of situations happen, this is a sure sign to me. They're actually down to 3.5 right now. And Illinois is catching money. Obviously, the ranked team is an underdog against a team that I believe has lost 3 games going in. I just think it's a sucker play to take the favorite in this situation. And there's got to be a reason why they opened They opened as a favorite. They moved to like 4.5, and then they're down to 3.5. So they opened at 5, actually. Now they're down to 3.5. And a lot of that to me is public money. So I would, it's not part of my card, but it just looks like a trap to me. And at 3.5, that's an even better number. You could actually get a 3 and lay 125 at Bet Online right now. So I would lean toward Washington in this spot, Kelly.
All right, let's get into some of these college football questions that we didn't answer with BP. Ross, do you do a lot of totals? UCLA, Indiana over. This is another game that I just didn't really get involved in. UCLA has been playing such better football over the last few weeks since after they fired their head coach. Indiana still with Kirk Cignetti. We know he's going to keep his foot on the gas. I will say this, taking an under there seems rather nauseating.
Yeah, I don't have a strong opinion here. I don't see UCLA being able to slow down Indiana's offense. And this line speaks volumes to me because this would look like a flat spot ordinarily for Indiana. UCLA off 3 straight wins. I'm going to stay away from this game in terms of the over. I would think that might be the way to go, or maybe a better option, maybe going over Indiana's team total.
Ooh, Indiana team total over is an interesting play. That's what's so great now with the market, Ross, and how things have started to evolve. When I first started betting sports, you basically got sides and totals.
Yep.
Super Bowl, you got all the good stuff, right? And now this market has just ever changed. So guys, something to really consider. If you like the over because of one team, maybe look towards their team total. Cody Butler wants to know your thoughts on Auburn at Arkansas.
Yeah, I think Brian hit it right on the nose. We talked about this game. I want to say at length, but jokingly so, because these are two teams that can't get out of their own way. Auburn's, they create and invent ways to lose games. So I don't trust them. Arkansas, their defense leaves a lot to be desired, but could Auburn's offense, which is their weak link, expose that? I don't think so. This is a game I just think there's a lot better value on the board than these two teams that are just like Brian alluded to, seem to self-combust.
Okay, let's talk about value on the board, right? I know you've got some plays up right now at WagerTalk.com. We just mentioned that with you and Brian Power. So if you guys are looking to get on board with one or both of those guys, they have a blitz only special with Ralph Michaels, 30 days, all access for $199, under 7, because it'll be under $7 per day, gets you that coupon code WT.buzz/RB. But let's talk about a couple of those value plays that maybe made your card, or maybe you gave out as a free play on either WagerTalk today or the WagerTalk free picks page.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Georgia Tech and Syracuse. This seems everybody's saying Georgia. Well, it seems like everybody's saying Georgia Tech's an overrated team, and there's some credence to that when you look at some of the close calls they've had. They're not a team that wows you with blowout wins. However, this is a really good situation for Georgia Tech. This Syracuse team is hurting right now. They played good defensively last week against Pitt. However, you're looking at Ricky Collins at quarterback for Syracuse. It's a huge difference when they went from Angeli to Ricky Collins. After 3 games, Angeli was the top passer in the country. He gets hurt in the second half of the Clemson game. Ricky Collins has made 3 starts. He's thrown 7 interceptions. The Orange have turned the ball over 19 times. And when you look at the quarterback comparison here, Haynes King, to me, I said it on the college football preview show I did with Teddy over at the Westgate. I think Haynes King was going to be the best quarterback in the ACC, and I stick to my guns on that. I'm sure there will be some arguments against that, but that's okay. That's the way I feel right now. This kid just knows how to get it done. He can beat you with his arm. He can beat you with his legs. I just don't think Syracuse could do enough offensively here, and they'll wear down. And it said their defense will wear down in the second half because their inability is to sustain drives. So it's now down to 16.5 at FanDuel and 17 at other places. I wouldn't hesitate to lay as much as 18 on Georgia Tech here against Syracuse.
All right. Let's talk about a couple of these other games from the chat, Ross. One of the games that we haven't touched on was SMU Wake Forest. Now, I thought it was interesting. Marco and I do a show called Bet on It on Wednesdays, and he said, here is your sandwich spot. Yeah. But now it opened 3.5, now all the way up to 6.5. What are we missing here?
I don't know what we're missing because Wake Forest has been extremely competitive. I mentioned Georgia Tech, and one of the scares they had was against the same Wake Forest team. And I think Wake Forest has definitely overachieved. But by the same token, like Marco brought up and Brian brought up, this is a sandwich game. And I think that this is also, a perfect example of a team with the better brand name because SMU, fresh in everybody's mind, college football playoffs last year, Wake Forest, not exactly the creme de la creme of college football the last couple of years. If you do like SMU, you lost a lot of value with this move. So I would lean toward a very small lean toward Wake Forest in the spot, getting the points at home.
All right, we got about 6 minutes before I got to get out of here so I can, get to getting. Ross, how about this? Give us some dogs you like today. Winning wants to know. Everybody watches the show, I hope, because they like underdogs, winning outright as much as I do. What are some upsets you see potentially brewing?
Yeah, Northwestern at Nebraska. This game goes at noon Eastern time. I don't know how you could have faith in Nebraska as a single-digit favorite. They've failed miserably on each occasion when they've been in that situation. Northwestern 5-2, 3-1 in the Big Ten. Talk about a team that's overachieved, and their defense is extremely good. Northwestern. I just don't trust Nebraska as a favorite in this spot. I would lean heavily toward the underdog Northwestern. Let me go through a couple more games here, Kelly. If you want to give me, here's the other one. BYU, I know you guys talked about this. Look, ordinarily, I have a contrarian mindset where if I see a team like Iowa State, who's, I believe, a 3-loss team at this point, 2 losses at least, as a 2.5-point favorite over an undefeated, highly ranked team, I would jump all over Iowa State. I'm not going to do that. I think BYU is the way to go here. I think that this will only motivate them when they look and see that they're an underdog against an Iowa State team that's really vastly underachieved or disappointed their preseason projections. So I would look at BYU in this spot. Memphis, I did text you guys that this line has come down to 3.5. I got on Memphis at 5. Look, here's the thing. South Florida is, I'm not going to try to poke holes in their resume. I mean, their one lone loss came against Miami. They were blown out in that game. Yeah, they beat Boise, but that's not a Boise team that is as good as they've been in years past. They're still pretty good, but they're not a college football playoff type of team like they were a year ago. The second game, they beat Florida as an 18.5-point underdog. Everybody was shocked by that, but now where we see Florida is at this stature, it doesn't look anywhere near as impressive now as it did then. And Memphis got caught looking ahead last week as a huge underdog against a UAB team that went through a head coaching change during the week leading up to the game. I just think Memphis is going to come up big here. Look, one loss, and they control their own destiny as far as the American Conference goes. Because if they can knock off South Florida in this spot, they have Navy and Tulane left in 2 of their last 4 games. I just think urgency and desperation lies with the Memphis Tigers here. You can get them at 3.5. You can get the hook here, which is key, because I think this is a close game that goes down to the wire. Would not be shocked at all to see Memphis win this game.
All right, I'm getting a lot of people mad at me because I did not repeat the Art, Sharp, Square, Public total. So I will do that. I'm going to wait a couple minutes after Ross gets done, and I will definitely share those. But Ross, here, curious question. This is a game that I feel like has kind of flown under the radar. We talked about it for a second with BP. He kind of said, hey, look, Brian Kelly, Death Valley at night, LSU is possibly the play. I've been so low on A&M all season long. I have lost money betting against them twice now. I don't know if I can lose money betting against them a third time. Do you think LSU is the right side here?
I wouldn't bet against them. I wouldn't bet against Texas A&M. I mean, here's the thing. Brian mentioned they're 19-1 straight up at home at night with Brian Kelly in charge. The bottom line is if you look at those 20 games, I believe 17 of them, they were a double-digit favorite or more. That's not the case here. And look, if you don't think like an odds maker at times in this business, you're one step behind the 8 ball. There's a reason why Texas A&M is a favorite on the road against LSU. Kelly, I was extremely high on LSU before the season began. As a matter of fact, I picked them to win the SEC. They still can, but I just don't try. I mean, their offense to me has been vastly, vastly disappointed. And Brian mentioned Texas A&M. They were exposed on a couple occasions this year against Arkansas and Notre Dame in terms of defensively, but LSU does not present the same challenges offensively. And this Texas A&M team can move the ball on anybody. I just think this is a game where the LSU offense will be their biggest enigma and their defense will wear down late. I like the small road favorite in this spot. As a matter of fact, if you can get 140 or less on the money line, that's the route I would go. I'm a big proponent of that because, look, there's nothing worse than having a team that won, but they didn't cover because they only won by 1 or 2 points. So I would take Texas A&M money line at -140 or less. Otherwise, I wouldn't hesitate to lay the 2.5 here.
All right. Great stuff from Ross. Benjamin, Ross, what do you have to promote before we get you out of here? And yes, guys, I'm going to repeat those art needs for you guys. And I'm going to be late. All for you. You're welcome.
All right. So we got the special for me, Ralph, and Brian that you already alluded to. Also, folks, college football, number one in win percentage last year, number one in units earned last year, up 112 units in college football since September 9th of 2023, when it lasts that long, and it's that good. It's not a fluke. Started in this season, I'm off to a 21-11 start, 65% up 31 units. Number two, because Gianni is just killing it in college football because he's a volume player and he's winning, and God bless him. But still pretty good season so far in college football, folks. And the best of all is all sports. I'm up 134 units plus since May 13th of this year. Right now, $19.99 is a 365-day all-access pass. If you purchase that from me and you put in the code SAVE500 at checkout, we'll take that down to $14.99. Not only will it go down to $14.99, Kelly, but for the entirety of that 365 days, whoever purchased that package from me, they're also going to get a 25% bonus coupon that they could use toward any other purchase on any other of the great experts over at WagerTalk.com. And if that doesn't suit you, you can get the rest of 2025 all sports right now for $590, $176 off. It'll take you right through December 31st. And my NBA is off to a 3-0 start, and NBA is on a 17-5 run going back to the beginning of last year. And college basketball starts next week, Kelly.
College basketball starts next week. I'm so excited. You are absolutely correct, Ross. All right, we're going to get Ross, the boss, out of here. You guys can catch him every single Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, right here live on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. Brian Power, Ralph Michaels, all things college football. So thank you, Ross, wt.buzz/RB.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.
Of course, get on board with Ross. I promised you guys I would repeat this. Needs from the Westgate Superbook. Art DiCesare said they're going to need South Carolina. They're going to need Cincinnati. They're going to need Pittsburgh. They're going to need Minnesota. And they booked it to need Alabama. That one was kind of crazy for me. What they saw that was sharp: Utah, Illinois, Colorado State, Texas, and Wisconsin. He also said they have a very sharp totals guy who's been killing it the last 5 weeks. Boston College under 55.5, NC State under 55.5, Wake Forest under 54.5, Troy under 48.5, FAU over 63, Arkansas State under 60.5, Nebraska under 44.5. Public sides, Baylor, Syracuse, SMU, and Nebraska. Art says his favorite play today, Iowa State minus 2.5. I hope everybody has a profitable Saturday. Back tomorrow. Ariel Epstein, Gianni the Greek. Of course, John Murray is going to be popping in, and David Delano is going to be joining us for the first time here on the program to answer all of your NFL questions. If you guys are a WagerTalk insider, WT.buzz/insiders to join. You guys can follow up right after last call and join the steam room with Gianni the Greek. Go over all of those last-minute NFL plays, sides, totals, teasers. You have it. Hope you guys have a great day, and go Cats.